Revelation, Time, and Miracles. This is David. Thank you so much for your time and for coming here. So let's get started and sharing these wonderful materials. Now, let's look at a concept called revelation. It's a very interesting concept. Let's try and see how far we can go into understanding it, because revelation is actually something that is very difficult. You cannot explain it to somebody else. You can only hint at it. And so I apologize if at the end of this session you'll only get a hint or some rough ideas of what revelation is. It is not something that you can share with somebody. It's unbelievable when it happens to you. Unbelievable. But what I can try and do is give you a rough idea of what it is. Now, over here, what we're looking at, let's step aside from A Course in Miracles for a brief moment and share a table that I've prepared for you based on the information from Dr. David R. Hawkins. Yeah? He's a medical doctor and also a PhD kind of doctor. Now, he's got a book out there called Power versus Force, which was very, very, very well received. And in there, what Dr. Hawkins and his team has done is that they have actually measured the power of a thought, or power of thoughts. I don't know what kind of equipment they use, but I do know that they did scientific studies for this, and they measured the power of thoughts using watts. Like watts. That's how you measure power. Like, for example, all the bulbs in your house are actually rated in watts. So that same kind of watts, that's how you measure the power of thoughts coming out of different levels of consciousness. Now, this table here shows, if you look at the left column, it says consciousness off, and if you look at the bottom, let's start at the very bottom, it says shame, then it goes up to guilt, apathy, grief, fear, and moves on, climbs up all the way to love, joy, peace, and then up to enlightenment. And in that range of enlightenment, that's what we're talking about, revelation. You literally see life completely differently. Now, if you look at the second column, it says power. And power is in logarithmic scale. In other words, it's not linear scale. It's not, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's linear scale. Logarithmic scale is, I don't know how to explain that because I'm not a mathematician, but I do know that the difference between log 20 at the bottom of shame and log 30 is huge. It's huge. So now, as you can see, he's arranged different the power of thoughts coming out of different emotional states according to in a descending order. So at the very bottom, shame, you can see that shame has the least amount of power. If whenever you're having thoughts while you're at the level of shame, your thoughts have very little power. When you move up a little bit to guilt, again, very tiny little power. Okay, and of course the power rapidly increases as you move up the scale. Now the third column says vision or perception. What do you see? Yeah. So anything below enlightenment, you're seeing perception. In other words, you're perceiving, you're interpreting reality. You're not actually seeing what is there. You're interpreting reality. Yeah. For example, your eyes are receiving light, some kind of an electromagnetic spectrum, which is being converted in your eye into another electrical signal, and then it goes into your mind and it goes through all sorts of filtration and all that distortion, and then it is reconstructed in your brain as a picture, same as your sense of smell, your ears, everything. You're not actually seeing what's there, you're reconstructing and rearranging, and so that's perception. Vision is a whole totally different matter. Vision is something else totally. I'll try and explain my experience of revelation later, but I can guarantee you it's nothing like what you're looking at when you're in the state of perception, which is where we usually are. Even right now as I speak, I'm in a state of perception. Sanity of thoughts. Literally, when you're outside enlightenment, you're literally in a insane or partially insane level. I mean, think about it. Whenever you're in panic, when you're angry, you do some crazy stuff. That is insanity. When you're afraid, you act, you hide, you don't take action, you do, you live in a fantasy world where you're under attack. That is insanity, basically, So the only point where you actually have sanity is again at the level of revelation. Mind process is the final column on the table. At the bottom levels, you see it says infrequent or no reason, then it goes up to reason. So from around love and joy, you have reason. You can reason basically. But then at the very top there, where you have enlightenment, you have complete knowingness. You don't even have to use logic or reason. You have complete knowingness on levels that are unbelievable. Again, I'll try and share my experience in a moment. Now, if you look at the other two tables on the right, I just put those two there just to give you an idea of how different these power levels measurements here are one from each other. So, for example, over there it says level of consciousness 100, and if you look at the actual microwatt measurements that Dr. Hawkins' team did, those numbers just look crazy, isn't it? Just by looking at them. It says log 10 to the power of minus 800 million. Okay? And then that's for the level of consciousness of 100, which is fear. Okay? Now, if you go up to the level of 500, which is love, we are talking the microwatt, the power measurement of the thoughts at that level, with according to Dr. Hawkins' equipment, we're looking at log 10 to the power of minus 35 million. So the numbers are vastly different. Any mathematician who knows how to use log calculations will tell you that those numbers are a universe apart. They're not even close. It's a universe apart. I mean, the number of zeros that we're looking at is even more than those 800 million you see over there. It's crazy. So again, for the sake of comparison, the second table on the right shows the comparative power of one person at level 300, which is roughly neutrality or willingness, is the same as 90,000 people at the level of anger and below, for example. Or take 12 people at the beginning of enlightenment. 12 people at level 700, which is enlightenment, have the same thought power as one person at the level of the higher level of enlightenment. Okay? Or let's take one person at enlightenment, which is like one person at the level of 700, which is the beginning of enlightenment, has the same amount of power, thought power, as 70 million people below the level of courage. So anything below the level of courage, 70 million people who are in the levels of fear, for example, have the same collective thought power as just one person at the level of enlightenment. So you can see how the power ranges of different states of consciousness is so vast. Okay. Now, continuing on this table, real quick, let's not spend so much time on this page. You find that now we have a few more columns. If you look at the third column, it says views God as, and I'm using the word God here, but you can use the Creator or Allah or whatever you want to use. At the very bottom, whereby you have shame and guilt, in that state, you see God as somebody who's vindictive or condemning or punitive and so on, going up. And in higher states, such as the state of love, you view God as loving. And it goes up, whereby you view God as one with all being, and then all the way to you and God are one. Of course, the creator and the created. So one is the sonship and one is the fatherhood, you might say, but still, one. Then there's the other column says views life as. Again, if you look at this table and you start at the very bottom, shame. If you're in a state of shame, life is miserable. If you're in a state of guilt, life is evil. And it goes up like that: hopeless, tragic, frightening, and all that. And once you cross into courage and neutrality, life starts becoming hopeful, complete, perfect. Life is perfect in a certain state. So, as you can see, the worldview does really change based on your state of consciousness. And this is why we're doing this miracle course, because the point is to drive you up there to the top levels. Now, emotion. What is your emotional state at the different levels of consciousness? Again, at the very bottom starts with humiliation and blame and despair, anxiety, and goes all the way up to understanding, reverence, serenity, bliss, and then the life process. Yeah, at the very bottom, shame starts with elimination, destruction, and it goes all the way up to pure consciousness. So as you can see, there is a very definite, specific point to this cause. The point of miracles is to take you to the experience of revelation. That is what miracles are there for. Now, what is a revelation? A revelation is a full comprehension of the true nature of reality. It has been called awakening, enlightenment, Christ consciousness, spiritual illumination, peak experience. Abraham Maslow actually called it a peak experience. I think many of us are familiar with Maslow's triangle of needs. What we're not familiar with is that Abraham Maslow actually did have revelation, and to him he referred to it as the peak experience, and he wrote a great deal about that. But you usually don't find it out there, but it's there. Now, revelation is a state of pure transcendental awareness. You literally transcend this world. You're in it, but not of it. Now, how does it look and feel like? I promised to share my experience. Well, roughly about 13 years ago, it was a weekday. I remember that. I was going in to get to the showroom, the car showroom. The car was getting fixed, and on my way there, something happened to me. It was just in the middle of the day, maybe lunchtime or something. So nothing amazing or spectacular day, normal state of mind, everything. All of a sudden, without warning, I remember I was feeling quite relaxed, and I'd let go of. I think I was on that day, I was the most relaxed I've been ever. I had completely let go of any concerns or anything. I was just trusting in life that day. But I didn't expect this coming. But what happened, without warning, suddenly, out of the blue, it's as if, because I remember I was on the highway, and so there was trees around me, and the sun was shining, and there was buildings, and there was people walking around. But everything suddenly developed a shimmer. Everything started shimmering. Literally, it was infused. All of life was infused with, let's say, like millions and millions of times more life than it normally looks like. For example, the trees were sparkling green. They were so fresh. They were alive. The sunlight, the rays of the sun coming down, it was not just light anymore, but you could actually see golden rays trickling. And I remember feeling like I wanted to drink these rays. I mean, they were so amazingly beautiful. And then the other thing is, I felt like I was part of everything, and everything was part of me. Of course, I had a localization of my awareness. I could tell that I was sitting in the car, but I didn't see the difference between me and the tree outside, for example, or the light outside. It just felt like an extension of my body. There was literally no feeling of separation, and I understood that, and I felt it like there's nothing else other than that. And then I remember thinking, wow, but what's happening? And immediately a voice, very clear, calm voice, came from both inside me but outside of me. But it came from outside of me, not from a particular point, but from everywhere and from everything. And loud and clear, but without sound, said certain things. Like, for example, say, "Don't worry, we cannot harm you, for we are one." Okay? And then I asked, how is that so? I can see, but how is that so? And then from there, the answers, this is complete knowing. The answers come at you in complete set. So there's no conversation, like there's no need to wait for the sentence to finish, for example. There's no need to, you're not going to get incomplete information that then you need to ask another question about. Everything comes complete, always complete. But there was a feeling of such safety and bliss and love, and it was just the most awesome thing I've ever experienced in my life. But then it went after about 20 minutes. But a few miracles happened in that moment. And anyways, that's not the point of this video. All I was going to say is that it's difficult to explain to somebody what revelation is. But when it happens to you, you will know it for sure. And it's unlike anything. It's unlike the normal world in every way you can imagine. It's just like, it's like the opposite. I don't know what it is. It's there, but it's amazing. Anyways, so it's difficult. I hope I've given you a hint of what revelation looks like. It's otherwise impossible to. No one can actually tell you. It just has to happen. Okay. Now, revelation induces complete but temporary suspension of doubt and fear. It reflects the original form of communication between the Creator and His creations, involving the extremely personal sense of creation, sometimes sought in physical relationships. Yeah. So physical closeness can never achieve this. It can approximate, but it's not. It's just a different thing by itself. Okay, so let's move on because no one can really explain it to you. Now, miracles, however, are genuinely interpersonal. Okay, miracles result in true closeness to others. Revelation unites you directly with the Creator. Miracles unite you directly with your brother. Neither starts from consciousness, but both are experienced there. So in other words, their source is not your consciousness, but you will experience them in your consciousness, okay? Or in your waking life or in your normal life. That's what we mean. Okay, revelation is intensely personal and cannot be meaningfully translated. So in fact, what I give you as my experience may absolutely be completely different from your or anyone else's experience, okay? So that is why any attempt to describe it in words is impossible. This is directly from A Course in Miracles. Revelation induces only experience. Miracles, on the other hand, induce action, okay? They are more useful now because of their interpersonal nature. In other words, they unite you with your brothers and thus heal the illusion of separation. Now, in this phase of learning, wherever we are now, working miracles is important because freedom from fear cannot be thrust upon you. Yeah? Like you cannot, nothing can thrust upon you the freedom of fear. Okay? It can't be done. So miracles are essential because they then release you from your own prison of fear. Revelation is literally unspeakable because it is an experience of unspeakable love. True. The difference between miracles and revelation. Now, when you have a miracle, you should not be in awe. Gratitude, yes, but the A Course in Miracles states that awe, the state of awe, should be reserved for revelation because it is perfectly and correctly applicable for that state. And I can tell you for a fact, once you have revelation, you're not going to help yourself. You will be in awe. Yeah? But A Course in Miracles states that awe is not appropriate for miracles because a state of awe is worshipful, implying that one of a lesser order stands before his Creator. Now, A Course in Miracles says that you are a perfect creation and should experience awe only in the presence of the Creator of perfection. The miracle is therefore a sign of love among equals. Yeah, revelation, sure, give it all, but miracles are actually your birthright. Yeah, equals should not be in awe of one another because awe implies inequality. I told you A Course in Miracles is quite an interesting book to study. It twists everything around. Now let's look at time and miracles. The miracle minimizes the need for time. This entails a sudden shift from horizontal, or rather time-based past, present, future perception. It entails a sudden shift from horizontal to vertical perception. What does vertical mean? Vertical means between you and the Creator, not between you and time. It's not event based. It's directly. Do you understand what I mean? It's you are the created and you have the Creator. So that's vertical. Horizontal means past, present, future. So it's a shift from horizontal to vertical perception. So this introduces an interval from which the giver and the receiver both emerge farther along in time than they would otherwise have been. The miracle thus has the unique property of abolishing time to the extent that it renders the intervals of time it spans as unnecessary. There is no relationship between the time a miracle takes and the time it covers. The miracle substitutes for learning that might have taken thousands of years. Okay? It does so by the underlying recognition of perfect equality of giver and receiver on which the miracle rests. The miracle shortens time by collapsing it, thus eliminating certain intervals within it. Isn't that exciting? It does this, however, within the larger temporal sequence. So it will eliminate intervals of time, but it's not going to limit all of time for you. So the miracle will happen within the larger time. In other words, like say for example, within your life, the time that your life takes, within there you'll have miraculous instances where time has been collapsed. Okay. So thanks again for your patience and your time, and I hope this was useful. Once again, please, most important, share this video with as many people as possible, so that we, the more people we have sharing this material, the better. And of course, ahappypocket.com is where the full series of videos and course materials are, including the original text. Plus, we have the community for the discussions and everything. Once again, thank you very much. Bye.